Good evening. Just yesterday, over in Sweden, their public health agency put out a statement saying that they reject the idea of kids under 12 being forced to get the COVID vaccine. However, here in America, it's a much different story, because not only has the CDC approved the vaccine for everybody above the age of 5, but also in a recent statement, Dr. Fauci said that he predicts a 3-shot vaccine regimen for kids who are below the age of 5 as well. Meanwhile, there has been a new twist in the lawsuit between the FDA and a medical transparency group. That's because just 2 weeks after a federal judge ruled against the FDA and ordered them to release all of their vaccine-related documents within the next 8 months, well, the lawyers for Pfizer sent in this request here and asked the judge to intervene in the case so that Pfizer's trade secrets don't get leaked to the public. And then lastly, while I was down in Texas, I had the opportunity to speak with Ms. Carla Mathis, who is the president of the National House of Hope, and we discussed how her organization helps to heal children as well as to restore families. Let's go through it all together. This is your daily Facts Matter update, and I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. And now let's begin today's discussion by talking about children getting the vaccine. Just yesterday, over in the country of Sweden, their public health agency came out. They released a statement wherein they rejected the idea that kids under the age of 12 should be getting the COVID vaccine. Their reasoning is that at this very moment, at least, the benefits do not outweigh the risks. Here's specifically how one official from the Swedish Public Health Agency described their reasoning in a statement that she made during a news conference. Quote, "With the knowledge we have today, with a low risk for serious disease for kids, we don't see any clear benefit with vaccinating them." She then added that the agency's decision could be revisited in the future if either the research changes or if a new variant changes the course of the pandemic. And then furthermore, she added that vaccination should be taken on a case-by-case basis, meaning that the child's entire situation should be taken into account rather than a blanket situation where all the kids in the entire country get the shot. Here's specifically what she added on this front in her statement, quote, "The vaccines are safe. There are very good vaccines, but we are now focusing on the medical benefits of the individual child, and we don't see that the benefits are great enough for us to recommend for the whole group. We don't see that we want to vaccinate a whole group of children for the sake of society. We want to see a clear benefit for the children themselves and the individual child, so that's why we don't recommend it at the moment." And so that is what came out of Sweden just yesterday. However, as you likely know, here in America, it is a much different story. Because not only has the CDC come out and recommended that all children above the age of 5 should get the vaccine, but furthermore, 2 days ago, Dr. Fauci came out himself and he said that he is predicting that children who are age 4 and below will be soon getting a 3-dose vaccine regimen as well. Here's specifically what he said during a COVID briefing on Wednesday. "It turned out that the other dose, namely the other group from 24 months to 4 years old, did not yet reach the level of non-inferiority, so the studies are continued. For children, it looks like it will be a 3-dose regimen. I don't think we can predict when we will see an emergency use authorization with that because the company is still putting the data before the FDA." And just for your reference, by the way, when Dr. Fauci mentioned the company, he was specifically referring to Pfizer. That's because at this very moment, Pfizer is conducting several clinical trials of the vaccine in children under the ages of 5. And actually, one of the trials that they're running is actually testing the efficacy as well as the safety of the vaccine in children aged 6 months to 2 years old. However, although those trials are now underway, and although you have that prediction from Dr. Fauci, it isn't necessarily guaranteed that when these trials are finished, the FDA will actually go ahead and authorize these shots, which is actually a reality that Dr. Fauci himself acknowledged. Here's in fact what he added during the speech that he gave 2 days ago on Wednesday, quote, "I don't want to anticipate what the Food and Drug Administration would do. I think we just need to be patient and know one thing for sure, that that's why the system works, because the FDA is very scrupulous in their ability to investigate the drugs and vaccines." Now, since we're on the topic of vaccines, there is something else that I think is worth discussing, and it's related to the ongoing lawsuit between a medical transparency group and the FDA. And just to give you a recap, on several previous episodes, we've already discussed how the FDA was asking a federal judge to allow them 75 full years to release all of the data that they have in their possession concerning the Pfizer vaccine, specifically all the documents pertaining to the authorization of that vaccine. Meaning that the FDA was essentially asking the judge whether it was okay if they released all of their documents by the year 2096. However, several weeks ago, the judge in the case, he actually ruled against the FDA, and so now the agency is required to release all of their documents at a pace of about 55,000 pages a month, starting on March the 1st. And at that pace, we should have all of the documents made public by about September or October of this year. However, it looks like the case has taken a different kind of turn. That's because just 2 days ago, Pfizer themselves came in and their lawyers asked this federal judge whether they can intervene in the case. And so just to quickly summarize exactly what's happened here so far. A medical transparency group filed a Freedom of Information Act request against the FDA in order for them to produce all of the documents that they have on file that pertain to the authorization of the Pfizer vaccine. However, the FDA and this medical group, they couldn't agree on a timetable. It appeared like the FDA was slow-walking the process, saying that it will take about 20 years for them to release all the data. And so, as a response, this medical transparency group, they filed a lawsuit against the FDA. Then, once the court case began unfolding, the FDA formally asked the federal judge in the case whether they can take 55 years to release all the data. And then before the judge was actually able to even respond, they, meaning the FDA, amended their request and said that actually they will need 75 years to release all the data. However, the judge in the case, who by the way is named Mark Pittman, he was nominated to the bench by President Trump, he did not agree with the FDA. And instead, he responded by saying essentially that this delay was unacceptable for documents that are of such high public interest. And therefore, he ordered the FDA to begin production of these Pfizer documents at an accelerated pace. Specifically, as we mentioned earlier, he ordered that the FDA begin releasing 55,000 pages a month starting on March the 1st. And this is exactly where Pfizer stepped in. That's because 2 days ago, Pfizer's lawyers sent in this request asking the judge to allow them to intervene in the case. Why? Well, they say that they support disclosing the data to the public, but they want to ensure that the information that's exempt from disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act is not disclosed inappropriately. Here's specifically what they wrote in their court filing, quote, Pfizer supports the public disclosure of the vast majority of this information to promote transparency and the public's confidence in the vaccine. And Pfizer seeks to intervene for the limited purpose of ensuring that information that is exempt from disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act is not disclosed inappropriately. And then furthermore, the lawyers claim that Pfizer was not aware of this case at all until their corporate executives read about it in the news sometime last month. And now, specifically now that the judge has ordered the release of 55,000 pages of documents a month, the lawyers claim that Pfizer wishes to step in to help the staffers over at the FDA review these documents in order to ensure that proper redactions are made. Their argument, essentially, is that if certain information is disclosed, and if that information happens to be some sort of a trade secret, well, that can negatively impact the company, and therefore, they should be allowed to intervene. Here's specifically what they wrote in terms of their reasoning, quote, Pfizer's injury, in fact, is the potential disclosure of its trade secrets and confidential commercial information and the associated economic harm to Pfizer. Not letting Pfizer join the case could deprive Pfizer of its intellectual property rights if Pfizer is not afforded the opportunity to advocate for protection of certain confidential commercial information within the larger set of information to be disclosed. And the FDA is, in fact, welcome to this idea. After Pfizer offered this help, several government officials, they told the court that they want Pfizer's help, quote, due to the unprecedented speed with which the court has ordered the FDA to process the records at issue. The FDA anticipates that coordination with Pfizer to obtain the company's views as to which portions of the records are subject to Exemption 4 of the Trade Secrets Act or other statutory protections will be a necessary component of the agency's endeavors to meet the extraordinary exigencies of this case. However, on the flip side, the plaintiffs in the case, meaning the lawyer who's representing the medical transparency group, he's really not keen on the idea, to say the least. And so after Pfizer offered this assistance, and after the FDA said that they would like this assistance, well, he submitted a brief to the court which said this in part. Even though the FDA has more than sufficient resources to expeditiously produce the requested documents, and the agency has repeatedly stated its commitment to protecting Pfizer's interests, Pfizer could still assist the FDA with expediting the release of the requested documents. Pfizer, however, provides no reason why it needs to intervene in this matter to render that purported assistance. Nor can the plaintiff discern why Pfizer needs to intervene in this matter to assist the FDA with expediting the release of the requested documents. It can render this assistance without intervening. Meaning, in non-legalese, that in theory, Pfizer could assist the FDA regardless, and so intervening in the actual lawsuit isn't necessary. And so the plaintiffs, they are now asking Pfizer to explain exactly why they should be allowed to intervene in the lawsuit in order to help expedite the documents' release. Because you might think that a cynical person might look at the situation and say, hey, are they trying to delay this data being released to the public? And along that line, what's interesting to note is that while on the one hand, Pfizer's lawyers told the plaintiffs that they don't currently have a plan to challenge the court's production schedule, they, however, did not rule out challenging the order at a later date. Here's specifically what one of the Pfizer's lawyers said in a statement to the court. Quote, Pfizer does not presently intend to move the court to reconsider its January 6, 2022 order, but Pfizer is not in a position at this time to waive its ability to do so if circumstances change such that there is good cause at a later time to do so. And so we'll just have to wait and see what the judge ultimately decides to do in this case. Earlier today, which is Friday, January the 28th, Judge Pittman listened to the arguments for and against Pfizer's intervention, but thus far he has not issued a ruling. And so we will just have to wait and see what ultimately happens. If you'd like to read more about this case, including all the court documents that we went through, or if you'd like to read about Dr. Fauci's comments about children below the age of 5 getting a 3-shot vaccine regimen, I'll throw all those links into the description box below this video for you to check out. And all I ask in return is that you take a super quick moment to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. And now, let's move on over and talk about healing kids who have gone through trauma. Oh, sorry. What's this? Well, that's a great question, Roman, and it is today's sponsor, which is an awesome messaging and email service provider called Secure. And it's awesome if you're the type of person that actually cares about their privacy. Because, I mean, it's no big secret that these big tech companies are mining and remining our data all the time. In fact, in the year 2020, it was found that over 155 million Americans, likely including you and me, have suffered some form of data breach. And by the way, that's only what's publicly known. However, what's happened in the past, well, that can stay in the past because with Secure, your data and your messages can remain private. And that's because Secure has all of their data centers located over in Switzerland rather than in the US or in China. And the reason that's so important is that Switzerland has some of the strictest data privacy laws in the entire world, and they are not subject to the Intrusive Cloud Act. And if you want to know what the Cloud Act is, head on over to secure.com and watch their video on the homepage or on the video tutorials page, which is under their support section. Now, the thing that I personally love the most about the Secure app is the privacy aspect of it. They don't mine my data. They don't mine my phone number. They don't mine the phone numbers or data of my friends and family who I chat with. But best of all is that if your friends and family don't actually use the Secure app themselves, it doesn't matter. Because the way that it works is that when you use their Secure Send email technology, all of your emails and your messages route to Switzerland, and then the recipient can reply using their Secure Reply technology, and so everything remains private no matter what. And the same actually goes for their messaging app as well. And they're always coming up with new features. In fact, the most recent one they told me about, they sent me an email here, was that they're coming up with a new feature called Text to Chat by Invite. So they're an innovative company, and they really do care about your privacy. And so what they're doing doesn't work with your existing big tech email account. So check them out. You can head on over to secure.com. I'll throw the link into the description box below. And when you use promo code Roman, you can get 25% off. And the rates are not even that expensive to start with, by the way. It's only $5 for the messenger and $10 for the email and messenger combo. And they even offer a 7-day free trial. So head on over to their website. Again, it'll be linked in the description box below. Use promo code Roman to save some money. And now, Roman in the studio, back to you. And now let's change gears just a little bit. While I was down in Texas, I had the unique opportunity to speak with Ms. Carla Mathis, who is the president of the National House of Hope, and we discussed how her organization helps to heal children and to restore families. Take a listen.
It seems like a lot of the problems plaguing society start in the home, right?
Yes.
And then they can be traced back to situations in the family and the home. Can you talk about that, some of the problems that you're seeing in, in families?
Absolutely. So most of the teens that come to our facilities, most of them come from broken families. And most of the time, the father is not present in the child's life or has very little involvement. And so our mission is healing and restoring teens to families. One of the things that does make us unique, Roman, is that the parents are required to participate in the program as well. So the teens live on campus. They receive an accredited education. They go to school there. They receive counseling. But the parents are also required to participate through counseling classes as well as parenting classes as well. And so many of the issues that we're dealing with are abuse, social media and the effects of social media. So many of these kids will get involved with different social media platforms. Like, so they're being sex trafficked and different forms of abuse that happens, addictions. And so they're crying out for help. So many of them come to us. They've been cutting, they've been doing drugs. And so our whole mission is getting to the root of the issue and restoring the family and getting the parents engaged with their kids.
How do people usually come to you? Like, is it the parents that come to you with their kids?
Yes, most of the time it's the parents that will call us. Now, sometimes it will be through the Juvenile Justice Center, where a judge will order a teen, they'll say you have the option to go to jail, or you can go to House of Hope.
So, in regards to social media, so you said one example is sex trafficking,
Yes.
which is terrible.
Yes.
But I can imagine that it affects maybe like at most like maybe 1 to 5% of people. So what are the other problems associated with social media besides that extreme example, which I mean, as terrible as it is, it affects a small minority.
Right.
What are the other problems with social media?
With social media, a lot of it is, well, we see a lot of kids who have been bullied via social media, and so many of the kids that come to us, they have either thought about suicide or they've attempted suicide because some of the kids at school have made fun of them for something that they found out about, or inappropriate pictures get posted, that sort of thing. And so they'll come to us and they have been suicidal and have attempted their lives, attempted to take their life.
Have you seen any difference in the kinds of problems that you are seeing come to you after the COVID pandemic?
A lot of anxiety and stress amongst these kids and amongst the parents too. Obviously, it's compounded because when the parents are stressed, then the kids pick up on that too. And so there's a higher level of stress, but we are seeing a increase in the suicidal, where kids are more suicidal now.
Well, why do you think that is? Is it because of the lockdowns? Because online classes, they're not getting as much social interaction?
I think it's the pressure from not just the kids being at home and not being with their friends, not being able to have that freedom that they once had. And so you have a lot of financial stress because of the parents either lost their jobs. And so that is being passed on to the kids as well. So it's affecting the whole family unit.
Wow. So you mentioned abuse as one of the reasons people come to you. In that case, since your organization is the type that involves the parents, and let's say the abuse comes from the parents, how do you deal normally with a situation like that? Or I'm sure it's case by case, but how would you generally deal with a situation like that?
So if it was something that it involved like an immediate family member, like a parent, we obviously were required by law to notify the authorities. And so we would do that. And so the child would then be at our organization. And so if there's either like a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, or another family member that could be involved with the child and attend the classes, then they will do that as well. And there have been cases where it may not be a parent, it's been either a grandparent or an aunt or uncle who actually did the abuse and the parents had no idea. And so those individuals, there are cases that we have where the individuals were sent to prison because of it, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, it seems like, to me at least, a lot of the social ills that we have, like for instance, Antifa. Antifa's a big social ill in a lot of places. Like I live in New York. I've been to Portland to the riots over there, and it seems like a lot of times it's very young people. And I wonder whether if there was a better home structure that would keep them from going down that path. Although I'm not sure, maybe there's a lot of factors involved. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Well, we are unabashedly a Christ-centered organization. And so we firmly believe that it's the love of Jesus that brings about repentance. And so if God is at the center of the family and they're being taught the love of Jesus Christ, then what we find is these kids, they make better decisions. And so many of the kids that come to us, they're angry, they've been hurt by someone that they had trusted and should have been able to have trusted. But it starts with forgiveness. And so once they're able to forgive, then we see that heart transformation, and we see a completely change in them, and a lot of times reconciliation with the family.
I'll throw a link to the National House of Hope website into the description box below this video in case you know anybody who can use the help. Also, I'd like to mention that what you just watched was not the full interview. If you would like to watch the interview in its entirety, as well as a plethora of other phenomenal content, you can do so over on Epoch TV, which is our awesome no censorship video platform. And actually right now we're running a great promo where you can get full access for just $1. I'll throw the link to Epoch TV as well. It'll be right there in the description box below this video. I hope you click on it, hope you check it out, hope you subscribe, and I hope that you join us on this journey of exploring this beautiful, beautiful world through honest journalism that is based in truth and tradition. And lastly, if you haven't already, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already, in order to get this type of honest news content delivered directly into your YouTube feed while YouTube still allows it. Also consider hitting that notification bell so you can actually be notified of any new videos as we release them. And lastly, if you happen to have a Telegram account, consider following us at FactsMatter_Roman. We'll publish the links to all of our episodes there, so in case anything ever does happen here on YouTube, you can always find us on Telegram. And then until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Stay informed and stay free.